Good day, everybody. Welcome to My Life Without Limits. This is Carlos here once again with your co-host, with my wonderful co-host that she's here every single time, and she
Yes,
puts up with me every single time. Just wanted to
barely.
say hi to Leah. We are in a very hot weather today, right, Leah? So
It is pretty hot, yes.
keeping
Yeah.
yourself cool off here in
Don't
Edmonton.
want to complain because,
No,
we
no,
always want winter to stop.
Good.
But wow, yeah, we've dove right into summer, that's for sure.
We did, and I think I'm excited. I'm
Mhm.
from Mexico, so I'm kind of used to this
Right.
thing.
Hmm.
So, so yeah, I'm excited. I
Yes,
wish
good.
we lasted longer. How are you doing, Leah? By the way,
Yeah, I'm good, really good.
yeah,
My usual,
your usual thing.
everything's going great.
Everything's going good.
Everything. Yeah, everything's great. We've been getting a lot accomplished
Yeah,
at the organization. So shout out to our programs team who have
shout out.
launched so many new programs in the last little while. We've got adult aqua therapy just
Nice.
launched in Calgary.
Yeah,
And yeah, we launched in Northern Alberta. We've got kids aqua therapy and hippotherapy in Valley View.
all of you. Yeah,
And so we've reached further and a gymnastics program for kids in Edmonton. So it's just things are happening.
absolutely. Yeah, they are actually happening, and it's very exciting. If
Mhm.
people want to reach out, there's always our social media there, always our website that you can
Mhm.
go to www.cbalberta.com, and you can reach out to all of our programs we have. And
Yeah.
Leah here, other than being a co-host of this wonderful podcast, she's the guru of social media, so you can always connect with her on
Yes.
every aspect in social media, and she will
Mhm.
be connecting you with the right people uh,
Yeah,
in the organization. So
absolutely.
feel free to connect, and feel free to connect to the podcast as well. But to don't make anything any longer, you have connected with a wonderful human being, a wonderful
Mhm.
lady who you connected with, and she's with us today. She's gonna
Yep.
talk to us and have a great conversation. But I wanted you, Leah, since you connected with her first, to introduce her to our audience, which will be pretty cool. So feel free, Leah, to introduce to our audience, please.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have our new friend Athena Cooper here with us and going to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is relationships
Mm, yeah,
and love and all that stuff. I like talking about that.
beautiful.
And she is a very talented artist. So, welcome, Athena. Thank you for coming and being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, happy to have you here. I was really excited to get some information about you come across in my email and stuff. So why don't we start with just a little introduction about you and just your background and all that kind of stuff.
So, yeah, my name is Athena. I am a visual artist based in Calgary. I am currently working on an art exhibit that will be happening in the summer of 2024 on the subject of romantic love and disability.
Mm,
So, this is going to be my painting. So, I'm an acrylic painter. And then also, I am looking to collaborate with other couples who where one or both partners identify as disabled, because I think it's a really interesting topic and it's something that's near and dear to my heart as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the topic too. I'm always so curious about what it's just the experience is like. And I like to watch all, love on the spectrum and all that stuff just to see how relationships develop in different ways. And so I think that's so neat because you yourself you're married and you've done some paintings about you and your husband too. Yeah.
Yeah, I met my husband about 9 years ago
Mm-hmm.
on one of the dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
and we've been married for since 2019. So,
Oh wow, good for
yeah,
you.
nice. And when did you met him, Athena? Like what year?
in 2014.
2014. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And did he also have a disability, or
No, he's able-bodied.
He's able-bodied.
So we, one of the things that really sparked this for me was back in around 2019, there was this Dr. Phil episode of all things,
Okay.
called I Swiped Right on My Quadriplegic Boyfriend. And he did this really kind of horrible episode about
No.
interabled couples, and it was not a
Mm.
topic that I was particularly familiar with at the time.
Mhm.
And so he does this whole sensationalist spiel
Yes.
about interabled couples, and basically it got summed up to him telling this woman who had a quadriplegic boyfriend, you can be his lover or you can be his caregiver, but you
Ugh.
can't be both. And of course, the disabled community just went bonkers. And he said it won't work 100 out of 100 times.
Mhm.
And so there was this hashtag that came out of this called 100 out of 100. And it was all of these interabled couples showing their relationships on primarily Instagram, but other places too. And you can go look at that hashtag now and see all of these couples. And
Oh,
it's really interesting for me because this was the year I got married.
right.
And I was looking at this and I was going, wow, okay, I really wish I'd had this back in 2014 or back in my
Yeah.
early 20s and 30s when I was on these dating apps and thinking,
Mhm.
I am never going to find anyone. I've never seen a couple that where a partner is disabled. And so I kept thinking that my wanting to be in a relationship was kind of an extraordinary thing. Like it was an
Mhm.
extraordinary ask of someone to be in a relationship with me.
Yeah.
And then I saw all these couples and it was great wedding inspiration. I gotta say, there was some really nice wedding photos and all that kind of
Aw.
stuff, which was lovely. And it was just like, wow, where was this? Where is this
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
And that was a huge part for me of the inspiration behind the exhibit, is like just being able to show this and show it as not exceptional, not out of the ordinary. Like this is just really an ordinary, my relationship with my husband is honestly very ordinary. And
Right.
that's kind of the thing that I took away after all of my heartache about whether or not I would ever find someone. It's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, this is pretty much like everybody else, you know?
And
Right.
you know what, Athena, thank you for pointing that out, because even I was actually having some cloudy days of thinking the same way, because you know, I am a single person, right? And you're like thinking, oh, would you ever find someone that doesn't have a disability or that has a disability or whichever? Because I think love, you can find somebody with a disability or without a disability as long as there's love, right? And as long as there's care for each other. One of the biggest thing for me was somebody ever once told me, myself straightforward, it says it's easier for you to find a partner who has a disability that does not have a disability because it relates better with you. And I'm like, well, I think that's bonkers, because I don't believe in that. I think that when you were talking about the 100 out of 100, I saw those posts and I saw that Dr. Phil video, which is ridiculously
Oh yeah.
making me really mad at the time,
Yeah.
because I'm like, there's so many interable couples that are showing you that it works, right? It really does work as long as as long as there's love and as long as there's connection there, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people feel, and I want to see if you, later on or soon you comment on this, but feel like we are a burden for those particular people who are able-bodied in this case, right? And some of them do feel that way before they get into the relationship, right? So it's very stereotypical to try to take it out of their cloudiness, but seeing people like yourself, it's very, very real, which is very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that is really interesting is that when you think about an interable couple, like, the couple that Dr. Phil brought on the show, they were probably in their late 20s, early 30s kind of thing. If
Mhm.
you took that same couple and you put them in their 80s, and you made one of them in a wheelchair and one of them not, no one would bat an eyelash if the wife is pushing around her husband in a wheelchair and they're elderly. And we wouldn't say that, oh, caregiving can't be part of that relationship. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And we get to the, we are, in many ways, I see my relationship with my husband, we're learning all kinds of things about how to be together and how to take care of each other and all these kinds of things now in our 40s that many couples won't encounter until they're much later in life. And so to say that, oh, we're not going to be in a relationship if one partner is disabled, your marriage vows do include, in sickness and health.
Yeah.
Right? So, why are we making this such a big deal if, if it's a natural part of aging, if it's a natural part of, the human experience.
So true. That is so true. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you were creating your profiles on the dating sites, did you just put it all out there and then just was like not hiding anything? Because I know some people get a little, like even Carlos, we've talked about, how not all the time you are upfront. Like, did you just, but then you eventually tell somebody that you have a disability, but did you just, here I am, and
no, I actually had the experience. So I was online quite young, and so I pre-internet, and I was on one of these chat boards, and for about a year I didn't disclose my disability, and I kind of tried that out as an experience. And what I found was that it was very restrictive. You could, someone would be talking about going skiing, and it's like, do you ski? It's like, well, can't really talk about that without revealing the fact that I'm disabled. And what I kind of learned from that, and I was like 16, 17 at the time, was that I couldn't be myself fully without disclosing my disability. And one of the things that I found with the dating apps was that, I could hide it, and then I would get a whole bunch of people that would, ultimately reject me. Or I can just be upfront about it, have those people not contact me to begin with, which, doesn't waste my time, which I consider is a huge thing. And only work with, the people that are like, okay, I can work with this, and, my husband, he's the same way. And, my husband is a trans man, and he also disclosed that in his profile. And so that was something that, we were both very upfront about our, what people might consider to be, quote, issues. But, for both of us, it allowed us to also, break the script because, which was really nice, because I had the script in my head about how I was going to be with a guy, and he had the script in his head about how he was going to be with a partner. And for both of us, it was like we had to throw that out the window. And it's like, okay, well, how are we going to be together as a couple? And that actually really worked for us in a way that hadn't, come close in our previous relationships.
Right. Just being authentic.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Just be authentic. Yeah.
Perfect.
Aww. What was your first date?
Oh, well, we were very much a slow burn. So we were friends. Like just hanging out for friends for about 6 months.
Okay.
And so even though we met on the dating app, I kept referring to him at work as the guy I'm not dating. And we would go out and we would go to movies. We would, come over and we'd order in food and watch TV and go out for sushi. Like that was kind of our thing.
Normal stuff.
And the other thing was that, he had, and this is where I kind of go back to the, ordinary life kind of thing. He had a very tough job at the time. He was working as a youth worker in a group home for kids in government care. And so he had crazy shift hours. He was working. And so, I mean, we couldn't really get together more than once a week. And so it was a lot of texts and a lot of, trying to figure out schedules, and not anything to do with, my disability at all. It was just like, how are we going to make this work as
Yeah.
two human beings with busy schedules?
Yeah.
And before you got married and before you met him, your current your husband, do you have any other relationship, any other dates, or was he the only one?
Pretty much the first. I had some kind of unsuccessful, kind of not quite relationship kind of things, and crushes and all those kinds of things that you would expect. But no, he was definitely my first real relationship, and I mean, it was also, you know, I kind of consider that to be a good thing, that I was able to, you know, get all the bad ones out of the way without actually having to have a relationship. It was kind of like training ground. It's like, okay, well, that didn't work at all, and I'm not even going to consider going out with you, so bye-bye now.
That's right. Yes.
See, I love that. I love that attitude, because sometimes having a disability, and I don't know if it happened to you, but I can tell you from my experience, it's harder to let somebody go when that person is giving you a little bit of a, you know, of a similarity of what you're feeling, because sometimes you feel, or in my case, sometimes I feel like I'm not going to find somebody else, but that's actually not true. That's actually so many people out there who might be having a crush on you and you don't even seeing it, because you're just holding on to one particular person, or to a particular person, or whoever it is, right? So it's very important what you're saying, that if it's not going to be the right person, just see you later. I'm not going to be wasting my time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I read a great self-help book. I can't remember the title, but it basically said you need to kiss 99 frogs in order to get 100th. And I wasn't even kissing the frogs. It was like, I'm just going to burn through these ones as quickly as possible in order to find the one that I knew was out there. I didn't have a whole lot of faith at the time, but I kind of felt like there has to be something better. Like I deserve something better.
Exactly.
And I think that is huge, is to know that your own self-worth and be like, no, I deserve this. I deserve something better than what I'm being offered, which, it is really tough, because like you say, you feel like, oh, this may be the best I'm going to be able to get. And it's not true,
Right.
You deserve so much better. And I mean, we, as people with disabilities, we need to remember that.
Yes. Yes, in so many ways. You deserve better in so many ways.
Exactly.
Yeah, because this world is not made for you guys. Yeah. What's it like when you guys are out in public and everything? Do people assume he's your caregiver? Like,
no, not that we've noticed.
Good.
I think my husband will tell you that I do not notice that people are looking at us. He notices it more than I do. And there was one time that we were on the C train, and this guy kind of, came up. He's like, you shouldn't be on the C train alone. And I kind of went like, kind of, and he's kind of, oh, okay, you're not alone. So the fact that I had a guy with me was definitely very surprising to him. So yeah.
Like, you poor helpless woman, right? Like,
yes, exactly.
But I'm guessing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Athena, I'm guessing you don't see it, people staring at you, or people doing all the things, because you're just living your normal life, I imagine. You don't really put attention to it. It's like, is that correct? Is that?
Yeah. I mean, I've had my disability since birth, and I am someone that I think has honestly gotten used to it. And I mean, there are always going to be those occasions where people are being super obvious about it.
Yeah.
But actually, one thing I did notice, we have two small dogs, and one of them I got even before I met Stefan. And when I'm out with her, I kind of love it, because everyone's looking at the dog. And it's adorable. and they'll come up and they'll ask questions about the dog, which I'm more than happy to answer, which is a lot better than asking questions about me. So, yeah, the dog is great.
You know what? That's good, because it kind of gives them something, because, you know, people are always afraid, right, to approach people with disabilities and to start conversations. So it's like, that's nice having the dog there to sort of be that icebreaker, I guess, type of thing, to start the conversation. And so they can see that you're just a regular person, you know, with your dog.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. And I do think that, you know, one of the things that I try to do when I'm moving through the world is I try to be not apologetic about it. It's like, I'm here, I'm not, you know, I'm not asking for anything. I have a right to be here. I have a right to be in this restaurant. I have a right to be in this space. I have a right to, you know, look you in the eye and ask for the things that I need. And it's, I think it changes how people interact with you, because if you're coming at it from a, okay, yeah, so how are you going to fix this problem? It's not my problem, it's your problem. That if, you know, like that kind of attitude, I think it really changes people's perceptions. And I think that has also helped me a lot in terms of my own confidence, but also how people are responding to me as well.
So talking about confidence, because I see that you have a lot of confidence, and that makes me really happy about it. I love it. How does art has given you, or this is the better question, has art given you more confidence, or do you think you always had that confidence before you created this visual art that you
so art has been something that I've been doing since I was very, very young. I have a condition called Osteogenesis Imperfecta, or brittle bone disease. And so when I was a kid, I couldn't really go out and play with the other kids because, you know, my parents were very concerned that I was going to fracture something. And so my parents really, you know, did a lot of drawing with me, did a lot of arts and crafts, you know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, there's a lot of folks with OI who are actually very visually creative in many ways, because it was fostered in them from a very young age. And so I always knew that, you know, I wanted to do something artistic with my life. I tried a lot of avenues to get there. At one point, I studied to be an animator, and that was super exciting. And unfortunately, I also got hit by a car at the last semester of my program. And so that kind of knocked me off track quite a bit. So I never actually was an animator. I kind of finished my program, was dealing with a lot of stuff around my recovery, PTSD, depression, all that. And so I actually went off and I did web design, and I did web development. I did a lot of, you know, I had this whole career that did not involve art. And I kind of just backburnered it for the longest time. And then it was about 10 years ago, I was in a very high stress job, spending a lot of time in front of a computer. And I said, you know what, I need to get away from the computer. I need to paint again. You know, this was something I'd been doing on and off for years. And I just started my painting practice and started doing it much more in earnest. And that was really when painting for me began to take off. And you know, it was a really slow process. And I think the confidence that I have now as an artist comes from the fact that I took a long time to find my voice and to get that, to build up my skills. And I mean, you know, I have a lot of sympathy for these young artists that, you know, it's like, I'm going to do art and I'm going to be successful in a year. And it's like,
it might not take, it might be longer than a year, just to let you know.
Might be longer. So, and I think, you know, I was really lucky that I had a day job that I could just do my art on the side, knowing that it didn't have to make me money. It didn't have to make me be something that I made a living by, and could just play. And so that, you know, my other gig right now is as a creativity coach. And that's one of the things that I tell people all the time is, like, you know, work on finding your voice. Like, don't focus so much on trying to have your art make money for you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
just really figure out who you are and and what you want to say. And that it takes time. You know, we'd love it to be super fast and be like, I know exactly what I want to do. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
for some people, maybe it's true, but for most of us, I think it's not. We need to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, that's right. And is that through is it Tilted Windmill? So
Yes.
yes, is that's where
Yes.
you do your creative coaching?
Yes. Yes. My husband and I, so my husband is a clinical counselor. And so he and I founded this during COVID, where we were basically trying to do mental health and creativity, because I think it's something that really
Yeah.
goes well together. And it really helped me during my own recovery after the
Sure.
accident to just realize, you know, how beneficial my creative practice was to my healing, in
Yeah.
terms of both my, you know, my mental health and all of that. So I did do a therapeutic arts practitioner certification last year.
Oh,
So, and then I'm also currently in life coach training right now. So
Oh,
I'll be running
nice.
soon.
And how long did it take you to recover fully from this injury that you had, or this
Yeah,
unfortunate
yeah.
situation that you had?
So I was hit in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and I was basically tapped at a crosswalk, and the chair kind of flew sideways for about 3 feet. And I cracked my hip in 2 places.
right.
And so the physical recovery, you know, I was kind of physically back to normal within a few months and able
Mm-hmm.
to live on my own again and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that really shocked me, because I was in the second to last semester of my animation program,
Mm-hmm.
and I was really, you know, I thought I was going to go work at Pixar. Like, that was kind of the
Yeah.
goal. And after the accident, I had basically had trauma that was wrapped
Ah,
around my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would sit down and I would try to animate, and I would get, you know, I couldn't animate. I couldn't, it was like bring on this huge amount of anxiety and all these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was probably, you know, at least 10 years of working on myself and working on just kind of, and just, you know, to learn to stop beating myself up about not, you know, not achieving my big dream of
Mm-hmm.
being
yeah.
an animator, right? And going, and I read a lot of really interesting books, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, and all these types of books about creativity and creative blocks and how to sort of get your creative mojo back. And so it was, that's part of what inspired my practice as a creativity coach, was having to do my own recovery and to get from the point where I couldn't even sit down to do anything creative
Yeah.
without it causing a trauma response.
This is super interesting because you found that your dream wasn't really able to be accomplished because of all this situation that you went through, but then it shifted to now your real dream, which is actually what you're doing now, which is what's making you grow as a person. I think it's fantastic. Super interested in your story. I find it very mind-blowing in a good way, right? In a very
Thank you. Thank you.
That's why I
Yeah,
love doing this.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just say this is why I love doing this. I love knowing a little bit about the person that's coming on to join us, but not really knowing everything, and then learning it all. I just really like it.
Yeah. No, I think the thing for me, which I sort of discovered through my therapeutic arts training much later, was that moving into painting.
Mm-hmm.
Painting is a very different medium than working on the computer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're much more mindful and in the moment when you're painting. And that, you know, I still don't animate. I try to stay off the computer for a lot of my process, because I think it's actually just, it doesn't work for me anymore. And that could be because of the accident. It could be because of a lot of things. But painting is a great tool for mental health. I mean, it's something that, you know, it's one of the workshops that we run for Tilted Windmills, is helping people become mindful through painting, and as a way to reduce anxiety and bring your, you know, emotional regulation, all those kinds of things that can happen when you're painting.
That is amazing. And for your exhibit that's coming up in 2024, uh, how did you come up with these wonderful stories other than the couples that you have? Did you end up interviewing the couples? Did you end up just finding them on the street? Like, how do you end up like, or maybe you're like Leah, which Leah creeps people out on social media,
Yes, I
on
do.
social media, right? Like, how do you find all these amazing stories that inspire you to do this wonderful art that you're showing up to people in 2024?
Well, so the exhibit itself, the bulk of the exhibit will be about 40 paintings that will actually track my relationship with Stefan from the beginning until about
So cool.
2021. So it'll all be kind of like snapshots, kind of
Okay.
thing. And it's based on literal snapshots that I've taken off my phone over the years. And so it's that tracking of our relationship. But one of the things that was super important to me was I didn't want to have this exhibit and just show us, because I felt like there was this tendency, if you just had us, it would be like, oh, well, it's just her. It's just her and her husband, and this is an extraordinary thing that has happened and all this kind of stuff. And so I wanted to pair that with this idea of there are so many other couples like us.
Yeah.
And so what I'm doing is I have on my website a place where people can fill out a very short series of online questions, and it talks about things like, where did you meet, what's an everyday look like, that kind of thing. How's the disability impacted your relationship, and then provide some photos. And then the idea is that there will be a 50-inch TV in the exhibit space that will have images rotating through with quotes from their people's stories and then their photos. And so I'll be collaging those things together. And then the idea is just to sort of be like, and another couple, and another couple, and another couple. And just like this overwhelming number of couples that it's like, oh, wow, okay, this is one story of a bazillion that are out there.
Yeah.
And so where I'm really hoping to get other people involved. And
Yes, we are going to try and get some people
absolutely
involved.
absolutely
Yes.
because
There is a couple on our Instagram for the podcast that are interabled, and I'm gonna make sure that they see it, because they post a lot about their relationship.
And they're from Ontario, I think, those people, if I remember correctly, right, Leah? Is that correct? Yeah, they're from Ontario.
I think so, yeah.
So they're
it's open to not just interabled couples, but couples where both partners are disabled as well.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, yeah, I wanna make sure, because the really interesting thing about this idea of interabled is that, what defines interabled? Because you could have somebody that has an invisible disability. Are
Very
they?
true.
Or you have somebody where they become disabled later in life, even though their partner has always been disabled. Are they still interabled? Like, it becomes this really complex kind of question of like, who is interabled? What is disability? Like, all of those questions get really interesting when you start defining like what is
I never thought about it that way. Yeah, that's good. It'll break down all of the curiosity that people probably have, and
stigmas and all
stigma and assumptions. Oh, that's great. That's really great.
Please stay connected with us, because I do want to go to your exhibit. It sounds really exciting when it happens. I really want to be there, wherever it is, even if it's like in Vancouver. I'll fly over there.
I have the location. It'll be in Calgary in August in C-Space. So it's a community artist hub that is a really fantastic space. And so I already have that booked. I'm waiting for the funding. Sent all the grant applications out last week. So fingers crossed on all the things. But
absolutely.
Yes, you're getting some good support from Canada Arts.
Yeah, so Canada Council for the Arts. So this first year has been research and development for the exhibit. And then the next year will be the bulk of the painting and actually putting on the exhibit. So this will be about 2 years in the making by the time everything's all done.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's also very interesting because you wouldn't, or at least I wouldn't known how much of a hard work. I'm not saying that it's not hard work. I'm saying how much of work and step has to go through to put on an exhibit like the one that you want to put on, right? So
Yeah.
it's doing research and development. I wouldn't thought that. I would have probably thought, oh, it's only like painting, hours of painting, and then just finding the place and put it on. But no, it's more than that, and I think
Yeah.
it's great to know. I'm very
Well,
happy
and
that you're
then,
sharing this.
I mean, one of the things that I've been doing is researching on how to make a really accessible exhibit.
Ooh,
And so
cool.
things like the paintings will be on so a 50-inch center line, which basically means they're about 6 inches lower than they would normally be hung, so that
Okay.
they're more visibly seen for people in wheelchairs.
Mhm.
And then we're
Mhm.
also going to be doing QR codes with image descriptions, audio descriptions.
Mhm.
So you'll be able to listen to basically a conversation between myself and my husband talking about the paintings by scanning the QR code that'll be at the exhibit. And so there'll be
Nice.
different sections of the exhibit. You'll be able to listen to different conversations by us, which will be a way for low vision folks and also for sighted people that want to have another aspect of the experience.
That's fantastic.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Have you seen an exhibit that does this, or did you, where did you find out that you could do that?
Well, I actually, there's a gallery in Toronto called Tangled, and they're the only disability arts gallery in Canada. And so I talked to their director about things that they've done with their exhibit space. And, you know, one of the things that you see with paintings or with images on social media sometimes is you'll have the image description for every single image. And I knew that this was going to be exhausting and not helpful if there's like 40 paintings, right? You wouldn't want to necessarily listen to every single one. And so what he was talking about was, well, you can have just a story. You can have something that describes what this is about without necessarily describing every single image.
Painting.
The meat of it, right? Because that's what people really want. It's like, what is this about? And I think that's a much smarter way and more accessible way and more in line with what you would want from that experience.
Yeah, that's very cool. They do that at like Alcatraz when you have the audio on and you're walking through. It's not just somebody talking about it, but they do like reenactments of maybe what was said, and they've got like noises with it. It just makes you, it really puts you in that. It was creepy.
That's pretty amazing. No, that's pretty amazing what you come up with, because I wouldn't thought so. But you know what? It's good that you're thinking this way. You're thinking about people who are in wheelchairs, people who are on walkers, who might be harder for them to see the painting if it's really high. You know, even when I was out in Mexico once, I think last summer, and I took my grandma to the Bango and Family and Friends exhibit that they put on the art show there, and some of the paintings were so tall, and I was like, how are you supposed to see this if they're not in your level? Or what about, like, yes, maybe I can climb up 2 steps because I walk with crutches, but what about people in wheelchairs? They can't do this, you know, like they have to. And the fact that you're thinking of doing this, or that you will be doing this, it's just really, really cool. Really, really awesome.
Yeah, I was actually really fortunate right at the beginning when I was starting to do group shows. I was part of an exhibit where all the artists were in wheelchairs, and this was the art director's idea, was to drop the paintings because as a way of emphasizing the fact that all of the people in the exhibit that were showing were in wheelchairs. And so that's where that 50-inch center line came from. And we actually had a wheelchair that was kind of a rickety old thing sitting out in the exhibit space as a way to highlight the fact that that's why the paintings were a little bit lower than what you would expect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, that's great.
That's very, very awesome.
Yeah.
Very, very great.
Good. Life without limits is kind of what we always talk about. And also, before I should also say, I think I'm going to let our program coordinator in Calgary know, because we have art therapy, and I'm going to let her know that you exist. And it would be maybe really nice to have you to come out to their program someday and talk about that, because we talk a lot about mental health around the office and on social media. And I think that would just be something really important for, the participants to learn a little bit more about. So I'm going to make sure she knows.
And this story
What you
about
do.
the art and stuff like that, and like
Yeah, and
the
with
way you were
anxiety,
describing
how it
it
can help you.
is
Yeah,
is I think it would be useful for our clients who are in the art program in Calgary to learn from you quite a
I
lot.
do too.
Amazing. Yeah.
I do too. So anyways, yes, life without limits is kind of, what we're all about. And it's been a learning process for Carlos and I to find out what life without limits means to different people, and how it really doesn't matter. There's no right answer or wrong answer. So we'd like to know from your life and everything you're doing, what does life without limits mean to you? And do you feel that you're living a life without limits?
Oh, wow. That's a big question.
It is big. That's why we save it for last.
Right, right. Yeah, I would like to think that I'm at a point in my life where I am living without limits. And I think it's been a journey to get here. It's been honestly a real struggle to sort of not only get past all the financial stuff and all the things that come up when you're disabled, and to get to this place. I mean, I think of myself as being so fortunate that I can be here in my studio and spend my day painting and spend my day, being an entrepreneur and being in charge of my life, and in a way that I think is a huge privilege, but it's been a lot of work to get here. And so I am very fortunate now to be able to say that, yes, I am living my life without limits.
Yes, and you're loving without limits, and you're being creative without limits, and everything. I do. I can just sense it in you that you really honestly do. You're just doing your thing, and everybody else can just do their thing, and you're going to keep doing your thing and get out of your way.
And you're an example for other people who are out there, in my opinion, who are out there
Honestly, yes.
who might think, oh, this is not possible, or it's taking forever. Because sometimes when you were talking earlier how it took you time to reach at the point that you are now, it took you 10 years to reach out that point, or even, and sometimes people are like, oh, 10 years is too long, but seeing your story is 10 years, but you didn't give up. You continue doing it, and now you're living a life without limits, for sure. And that's a great example for those people, for sure.
Thank you.
And it's not in that cheesy inspiration porn way.
No.
It's in that, like, you're a great role model, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
For people, even just artists, and other people with disabilities. Honestly, I do. I'm really glad that you came and told your story. Very glad. I did want to ask one more thing. When you mentioned really quick that you kind of thought about you'd be working at Pixar or something when you did your animation. Did you have an idea for a movie in mind?
Oh, well, I have. When I created my demo reel, I created this character who I called Sir Stumpy. And for context, I am 3'7", so I am also rather diminutive. And so I had it in my head that, Sir Stumpy in my demo reel, he was going to climb up the hill, he was going to take on the dragon, and he's this tiny little knight with a sword that was almost as big as he is. And so he's dragging the sword after him. And so, I mean, I look back on it now, and honestly, I did not make the connection between myself and this little guy, but pretty obvious now. And so I look back on it now, and it's like, yeah, that perseverance, like that, you know, that is kind of, I mean, and the end of the Sir Stumpy short is that the dragon kind of flicks him off the mountain, and then the last thing is him climbing up the mountain again. He's gonna keep going.
That is, you know,
That's
I don't know
pretty,
how far our podcasts reach, but Pixar, you know.
that's pretty
Oh,
amazing.
they can license him if he wants, but I want the coin for that.
That's
For sure.
right. That's
Absolutely.
right. Exactly. No, I know that Pixar, there's so many great, they make so many great little short movies and videos and stuff. And I just kind of thought, I had a feeling that maybe you had a little something in mind when you were thinking about it.
Well, if you put on YouTube Sir Stumpy, there is a very short demo reel created by me way back in the day that includes Sir Stumpy, and it's terrible animation, but yeah, I got it done. I was actually finished up after the accident, so
wow.
I was I graduated, didn't do much more than that.
Well, I'll definitely gonna take a look at it, because I think yeah, and if Pixar can listen to this at some point, or somebody who is working in close to Pixar, make sure to reach out to Athena, because yeah, they can, as she said, they can license it, but she wants the coins, and she deserves the coins. So she deserves the coins. So no, thank you so much, Athena. I'm the same way as Leah. I think this has been such an amazing time with you, and for you to come and share the story, it has been a very eye-opener for me, a very big example, in not a cheesy way, as Leah says, in a very good way. You're an example for a lot of people, and yeah, so thank you so much. Make sure to reach out to us once the exhibit is for sure coming up. I know it's going to come up for sure, and but I want to go, and I'll drag Leah with me too, because I'll drag her with me. I'll be like, "You're coming."
Yep.
You're coming. Just
definitely won't miss that. No,
I think it would be awesome, and our head office is in Calgary, so we will definitely promote it. If you let us know for sure, we can definitely promote it. Once you have everything that you want to have for sure for the public and stuff. So, but thank you, Athena. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. And for all of you guys who are listening today, listen to this wonderful story. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Thank you so much for following us. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And thank you, Leah, for finding this wonderful lady, and for everything you do. And if you want to be a host, or sorry, not a host, a guest of the show, please make sure to reach out to us. Leah is always taking a look at it. I'm always taking a look at it, so we always are in a reachable parts, and then you can definitely connect with us for sure. Otherwise, thank you so much to all, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And please don't forget to continue to live your life without limits. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.